Okay. Hello, welcome back to Getting to Know You, Stonebridge residents and staff. I'm delighted today to be having Nancy Prince with me, who is serving a second term on the Residents Association Executive Committee as a member at large. But before we sit and talk about business, I've asked Nancy to talk about the pictures that we often walk past and maybe don't really notice in the clubhouse. They're very special. So Nancy, can you tell us about them? Because I know you were a leader in making it happen.
Well, thank you so much. And yes, I came here in the end of 2014, and I would walk the hall, and I noticed that this seemed to be a collection of pictures from historic Princeton, and it completely left out the residents of the Witherspoon-Jackson section. And I was familiar with that area when my husband was the interim pastor of the Witherspoon Street Presbyterian Church. So there, and at that time, I met Shirley Satterfield, who's become a good friend of mine. And this is a picture of her grandmother. We collaborated with Shirley. She chose 6 photographs that then would become part of this display. And her grandmother was a very active church person, had the programs for children. She also was the teacher for Paul Robeson at the elementary school in Princeton.
You know, Nancy, we're going to be celebrating the 100th anniversary of women getting the vote, and I would love to be able to talk with her about that occasion, because I think that's when she was active in the 20s, and she's such an imposing, confident woman. Take a look and pay tribute to her.
Yes.
All right, we're going to move on to another
Here we
picture.
go.
We're standing in front of a picture with the name Robeson being very prominent.
Right. This is Princeton Cemetery that is part of the Nassau Presbyterian Church property. This happens to be what was historically the white section of the cemetery. There was a black section. And Paul Robeson's father, William D. Robeson, who was the pastor of the Witherspoon Street Church when his wife died, asked the white church leaders if he could have his wife buried in the white cemetery because he could see it from his house if it could be there, and they agreed to do that.
It's right across the street, and the house is being restored.
That's right.
Let's move on to another one now.
Can fly.
Here we are standing in front of obviously an old-time street, and it's named Baker Street, but Nancy, that's not around anymore.
Right. Shirley told me about this in that when Palmer Square was designed and created, this street was done away with, but it was one of the pictures that she wanted to have in the display.
And so all the houses were then removed. I mean, the people were removed as well.
Yes, and some of the houses I think were
Moved?
moved down. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good. Nancy, I see a familiar name here, John Street. So what are we seeing here?
Right, well, this is a playground in the Witherspoon John section. And this was a playground that Shirley Satterfield would have gone to as a young child. I believe it's the only playground in that area.
In the neighborhood, yeah. But it's now been restored, so
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Definitely
fun to
has
see
been
the kid
restored.
playing there.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Our final stop is 2 pictures, right?
Right, 2 pictures.
And the first
Okay.
one is,
This first one here, at the end of the row, is an example of Dorothea's house. And Shirley offered this. She said that this was in the Witherspoon-Jackson section, and they were acquainted with the other residents. I also want to point out this, which is Charles Robeson American Legion Drum and Bugle Corps, and it's positioned in front of what's now the Waxwood.
but it was the school, right?
It was the school.
Yeah.
It was the elementary school.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yeah. Thank you.
And there could be another story about how the integration of the schools were done when
Right.
one became, one got mixed up after being a black and white school. And then the band there is actually Italian immigrants. And I think Shirley is very proud that they were able to share the neighborhood.
Yes.
And,
undoubtedly so. And she wanted to make sure that this was in the lineup.
Right, okay, well, thanks so much. That's
You're
a
very
good
welcome.
introduction for all
Very
of us. We'll continue our conversation about the Resident Association. Nancy, it's so nice to have you here in this capacity of helping us understand something at Stonebridge. but we're also glad that you're on the executive committee of the Resident Association. But usually we really want to know, what did you do before you came to Stonebridge? Now that's a very open-ended question. You can answer it in any way. You can tell us where you grew up or where you went to school, but just something so we get to know you a little better.
Okay, I grew up in a rural area in New York State
Mhm.
and went to a one-room elementary school. Started with first grade, there was no kindergarten. I graduated from Douglas College.
Oh, good, Douglas College.
Douglas College. I was a restaurant dietitian for the Stouffer Corporation.
I think
then-
some people remember that.
And then I was a stay-at-home mom, but at the age of 41, I went for an interview to be a teacher at the middle school in Pennington, and I was hired on the spot. And then I served 22 years as a middle school home economics teacher. I taught every 7th grader.
That must have been fun.
So I retired in 2002, and then I've been involved with volunteer work.
Right.
Co-chairing the celebration of 250 years
Uh-huh.
of the Presbyterian Church in Princeton. So that's what drew the
Yeah,
Nassau
that-
Church in
yeah,
Witherspoon.
and your interest.
And that was incredible.
Well, that's really great. Well, I know that the Resident Association Executive Committee has their own business, but then there's also this tradition of being responsible for established committees
Right.
and each person having some kind of liaison. So what role are you playing?
Well, I was on the technology committee, which was a
You-
challenge.
you were on
because
it.
I feel like I'm in kindergarten with technology. But then Jeff Kenner asked me if I would serve on the dining committee.
Oh, well, how
which
appropriate.
I felt like was like returning home, you
Yeah.
know. And I had great respect for how the dining committee works, and also for the leadership for the dining program.
Oh, with Ed,
So-
yeah. I guess you saw the segment we did with Ed and the dining team.
Yeah.
So, on the dining committee, are you looking for reaction from people here of what they like and what they don't like? What do you talk about on that committee? Or is it that new that you're not quite sure?
It's that new that I will go for the first time,
Uh-huh.
this last week of August.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And Linda
Williams.
Williams, yeah.
Uh,
So I'll be very happy to work with her.
Okay, and I guess it will be a new day since people have been getting their dinners in a bag. To think about dining again would
Yes.
be a lot of fun,
Yes,
so,
yes, and there's the whole fact that food still had to be prepared,
right.
and the adjustments that they had to make in the kitchen with the staff,
Yeah.
that I can be empathetic with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and, yeah, you'll be bringing some management experience
Yeah.
to take a look at that.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for meeting with us, and thank you for what you did here. We can tell this is a popular place because we've been having a little trouble keeping things quiet to do this segment, but that's life at Stonebridge, so I think we
right.
probably should capture that as well.
Yes, oh,
So,
absolutely.
so thank you for the pictures and the history as well as for your service here. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
And watch us again. Our executive team is here, executive producer, Jeff Teener, Sandy Hyatt, our timer, and what else do you do?
Stage managing.
Stage managing, that's it. And of course, this is the first time that Robin is recording this on a new thing. We'll let the technology committee explain what that is, and we'll see if we get better coverage with the new technology. But I'm Ingrid Reed, and I'm glad to be hosting this program. See you again. Thanks for listening.